We all use the internet every single day, right? But what if I told you that everything you can find on Google is just the tiniest tip of a colossal iceberg? Well, today we're going to dive below the surface and explore that huge, hidden internet you don't even see.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Did you know that most of the internet is completely invisible to search engines? Seriously, think about that for a second. The vast majority of what's actually online is stuff you can't just Google. And the scale of this is, well, it's staggering. See that tiny little slice of the pie, less than 10%? That's the entire searchable internet that you and I know. The rest of it, over 90%, is hidden from public view. And it's that massive hidden part we're talking about today. All right, so let's break this down. First up, let's talk about the visible part of the internet, the stuff you see every day. Okay, so that tiny slice we just saw, the websites indexed by search engines, news sites, blogs, all that stuff, that has a name. It's called the surface web. It's basically the public, easily findable part of the digital world. Pretty simple, right? So what about that other 90%? That's called the deep web. And I know that name might sound a little mysterious, maybe even kind of shady. But the reality is, it's a lot more familiar than you'd think. That's right. You are a frequent user of the deep web. It's not some strange dark corner of the internet. Nope, it's a huge part of your daily online life. You don't believe me? Come on, let's take a look. Think about your inbox for a second. Your Gmail, your Outlook. Nobody can just Google the contents of your private emails, right? That's because they exist on the deep web. And what about your bank account? When you log in to check your balance, that whole secure session is happening on the deep web. You definitely wouldn't want your financial info just sitting out on the surface web for anyone to find.
All those photos and documents you've got saved in the cloud, all your personal memories, they're kept safely behind a login, totally inaccessible to public search engines. And that's the deep web doing its job. Every single private message you send on social media or WhatsApp, another perfect example, those conversations are meant just for you and the person you're talking to, so they're intentionally kept off the searchable web. And finally, think about your work or school stuff. When you log into that internal portal to see company files or check your grades, you're accessing a private, protected part of the internet. You got it? You're using the deep web.
So you see the pattern here, right? What do all these things have in common? They all require you to log in. See, the deep web isn't some place you go to. It's just any part of the internet that needs a password to get in. It is literally the internet that is private by design. Okay, and this brings us to the biggest misconception of all. And it's super important we get this straight. People hear deep web and their minds immediately jump to something else entirely. So let's clear up that confusion right now.
The difference is actually really simple, but it's crucial. The deep web is the normal, safe, password-protected internet you use every day with a regular browser like Chrome or Safari. The dark web, on the other hand, is a tiny, separate part that you can only get to with special software. They are absolutely not the same thing. Confusing them is like confusing your locked front door with a secret hidden underground bunker.
So the big question is, why? Why do we even have this massive hidden part of the internet? Why is over 90% of it locked away? Well, it turns out the deep web isn't just some accident. It's an absolutely essential security feature. Honestly, it's pretty straightforward. Without the deep web, everything would have to be on the surface web. Imagine that. Your emails, your bank statements, your private messages, all of it would be publicly searchable, totally exposed. The deep web is the barrier, the wall, that protects your digital life. And this really gets to the heart of it. The deep web isn't scary or illegal. It's private by design. It was made this way on purpose to give all of us our own secure, personal spaces online.
So as we wrap this all up, I want to leave you with one simple, really reassuring idea that kind of reframes this whole topic.
So the next time you hear someone talking about the hidden internet, don't think of it as some shadowy, dangerous place. Think of it as your personal security guard. The internet you don't see is the very thing that keeps your corner of the internet safe. And that, well, that's a pretty powerful thing to know.